or you save them till the end. Are you recording?
Yes.
All right, so source reliability. As we were talking about interviews and stuff, this is important to save yourself from looking stupid. The source is not...
What do you mean when you said that?
I was scanning the room and arrived on you.
Okay. Focus.
You look cool today. So the source is not going to look stupid. If you put something dumb in an article that like the person didn't know what they were talking about and you put it in there anyways, the source doesn't look stupid. You do. So this is about checking source reliability and how you can save yourself from looking stupid. Click. So be skeptical about the information that you gather. Just because someone told you something doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. Doesn't mean that it's accurate information. People may answer a question even though they don't really know the answer. They could feel like they need to be helping you. They could feel put on the spot. Like if they don't know the answer, then they look stupid. So it's not necessarily a lie. They might just want to be helpful. They might just want to seem knowledgeable. So the principal tries to answer a question. You got a question about like how we arrived at the tiger, the school mascot's origin. The principal tries to answer it because they feel like they're in a position that they should be knowledgeable, but they don't necessarily. That source may not actually know. What might be a better source, a more credible source for finding out about the history of the school mascot? The real question.
Do we answer?
You guys on the video can think about this too while the class thinks about it.
The longest working staff member here.
Okay, so maybe a staff member who's been here for 100 years.
A yearbook.
Good, a yearbook. Good idea. Where else could you go? Or look at?
An old newspaper.
You could, yeah, old newspapers. The Daily Express has those on file. Even from the 1900s. They might be a pain and look at the microfiche, but that's like detective work. In the dustbins of Minas Tirith, like Gandalf looking for the secrets of the ring.
Never seen it.
So those are good sources. The principal might tell you something, but might not be the most credible source. What would you do if he tells, actually we'll come back to that. So be skeptical about the information you gather. Second, consider the level of the source, and this will be how you're going to use it in the article. There are primary, secondary, and third-party sources. Those sources are a little bit different than what they are in like history class. The primary source in journalism are generally, are going to be interviewed for and quoted in the story. Change that on YouTube. Okay, so the primary source, you're going to put their quotes into the newspaper. The secondary source are those that provide your story with factual information. So you look something up in a reference book. If you're writing about a disease and you want to know about this disease, you could look it up in a reference book or a credible website. Maybe you saw something in a government records like voter turnout polls or something like that. You watched a documentary. Those would be secondary sources. You wouldn't necessarily quote those. They just inform your article. And then the third-party sources are using reports from other sources that have been previously written. So you just snatch somebody else's report on the Super Bowl. Okay, so different levels. The primary is the one that you quote. So with the primary source, it's important that you check the reliability of the source. You're going to quote this person. If they don't know what they're talking about, it will make you look stupid, and it will make them look stupid as well. So we want to make sure we verify the primary sources, definitely. The secondary sources, we need to make sure that we have several of those backing us up. Yes, ma'am.
This isn't applied. Can I go to a credit meeting really quick to ask the person a question?
It's on video forever. Okay, and then the third party.
I don't know where to go.
The third party source, if you want to write about the Super Bowl, what else could you use besides just swiping the KTVO article on the Super Bowl? How else could you cover that?
Checking other news sources.
Okay, so you check other news sources. Still be third party. So where's
The person who was there.
maybe a person that was there, or since we're here, you could talk to a football player from where?
Here, I guess.
Yeah, here in Kirksville. Like, just talk to a football player. What did you think about that game? You get some student responses. Because we're a school newspaper, we need to report on school. So that takes it out of third party, where you're just like reporting the NBC article on the Super Bowl. but then you get the result of the Super Bowl. You go talk to some people. Did you watch it? What did you think? Good game, bad game. Who are you rooting for? And you bring it out of third party because that's not okay. We don't want to just swipe stories. You bring it out of third party. You bring it closer back to Kirksville, and you put it into the primary category by quoting some students and what they thought about the Super Bowl, what they had at their party, etc. So then, the primary source, when we talk about those, we need to consider their position or connection to the story itself. So like if you ask just anybody about the Super Bowl, they might not know anything, might not even watch the Super Bowl. So they wouldn't be a good primary source. So the principal, so we're talking about budget cuts here and how budget cuts might affect the school. The principal would be a good source for that. But what might be a better source for finding out about budget cuts in the school?
Like whoever runs the budget.
Okay, so the person that runs the budget, somebody over in central office, probably the secretary or the superintendent, the assistant to the superintendent, or maybe the superintendent himself might know about the budget cuts. And they could give you some sources, be like, well, we're gonna have to cut this program, and this program belongs to a teacher. So then you could go to that teacher and be like, what does this mean to you? So you find out and consider the position or connection to the story. Who might be a more authoritative source than a junior guard for basketball results?
A basketball.
Well, the junior guard is a basketball
What the heck?
player.
You just said basketball.
Well, I swiped these straight from the book.
Oh, so you're
So who might be a better source?
coach.
The coach. So there's nothing wrong with getting the perspective of the junior guard, but just understand that their view of the game is going to be different and limited than what the coach's is going to be. But you could get both of them. Who might be another? Think outside the box here. Someone else associated with the team who might have good information about the results or the statistics of the game.
Athletic director.
Probably too far for like a specific game, because they might not have been there. They would be secondhand, but that position would, you'd think, oh, the athletic director would know everything, but their position deals more with like the operations and stuff. But on the team, not a player, not a coach, who else might know about results and statistics? The managers. Okay, the managers are supposed to be keeping detailed notes and statistics. Sometimes as a coach, I'll go to the manager and be like, who assisted on that goal? Weirdly, sometimes they don't even know, so I've got to double check and watch video and go back and check. So consider the position or the connection to the story. Make sure that they're as close as you can get to the actual information, because that's going to be reliable news. This will be reliable information. The farther you get away from the center, the less reliable it's going to be. As you're interviewing someone, pauses and hesitations may signal uncertainty about the answer. So we need to be aware of that. If you ask the drama club president about who got the lead in the musical and they answer, I think it was, at that point you could probably pause or at least realize like they don't really know what they're talking about. They might be right, but then again they might not be right. So you probably need another source. Who could you go to find out the lead in the musical?
The music director.
So the music director. So you check with Miss Clark, Miss Murphy, either one of them would know for a fact. All right, they probably have a sheet that they could print out. Actually, they've emailed the sheet. So we want to make sure if you hear somebody and they're like stumbling over the answer, don't trust it. Don't trust that answer. It may not be reliable. On the flip side, you have to tell if they're just uncomfortable answering the question. Like you could ask a question they're not comfortable answering and just need a little bit of time. But if it's facts you're looking for, we got to make sure that we double check the facts. If at any point there is uncertainty, the uncertainty requires action. Verify all parts of a story that have any doubt whatsoever. Everything needs to be verified. This will prevent us from looking dumb and stupid as we publish these on the website, technically for the world to read. So you might have to do a second interview. You listen to the first interview and some questions come up like, oh man, I don't know what this means. You call for a second interview to clarify those things with that person. You might go back and check another story to verify facts. This is called independent verification. If you go back and check another story and you've got details that are different, facts that are different, then we need to do something. We need to look a little closer and take a little more time to verify those facts. Independent verification. Do multiple unrelated sources say the same thing? If you are interviewing one friend and another friend is standing there saying, oh yeah, that's not independent verification. Okay, we need to get another source that verifies what that event was, because they both could be wrong or misleading you. And so we want to try to avoid running single source stories, especially if it's a news report. Try to get multiple sources, a couple primary sources, a couple secondary sources, do a little research in the end of it and see what's going on. Sometimes the story doesn't have a lot of sources just by the nature of the story, but we always want to try to use as many sources as we can. Thinking about the GOAT article and all those sources that was in that GOAT article. That was well researched and had a lot of sources in it. And so we have to make sure we clear up and verify anything that is uncertain to keep us from looking stupid.
Number 9.
We're done.